Welcome to the Ageless Factor with Alita St. James. Each episode features the leading cutting-edge experts in the field of regeneration, longevity, and agelessness. Together, we'll break through the stigma of aging and learn the secrets of winding up and not down at any age.
Hi, everybody. It's Alita St. James here, and I am doing my podcast today with my dearest and most blessed friend, Yamuna. I've known her for 40 years, 35 years, and she has been a rock star. She's compiled a whole group of body intelligence, put it together, and she is a body genius. I've experienced her work myself when I was pregnant, and I could barely walk because of the Lupron injections I was taking. And I'd come in there, she'd work on the hips, she'd work on my body, I'd get up, and I was able to, move around for that week. And then she'd come back and I'd be there again, and she'd get in there and I'd be fine. She's done miracles for so many people in terms of their bodies, and she will explain more about her work. But the reason why I have Yamuna on, because the two of us are like sisters. She's the genius with the body, and I deal with the emotional parts of the body that just close down and mess up the body and the brain. And that many times releases the physical. And what people don't really understand, and I know Yamuna is going to go into it, is that the ageless factor really has to do with releasing negative molecular, imprints in the mental, physical, and emotional bodies so that you can resonate at a high level to bring in the spiritual energy. And when you do that, then you radiate. And people will take stem cells and exosomes and peptides, and they don't radiate because they don't bring in the spiritual energy. And if you are going through any kind of trauma in your life on a physical level, which at a certain age, I'm 76 right now, I've had my fill. Naturally, you have to get worked on. So I always refer people to Yamuna, even though she's all over the world doing her workshops and her trainings and her teaching. She loves to teach her work, which I totally adore about her. And she also loves to live in Ibiza and go to the beach and go swimming, which I also adore. I think that's the most marvelous thing in the world. She lives and loves her life. So with that happy note, I turn you on to my dearest, dearest, dearest friend and a godmother to my children, Yamuna.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Alita, for thinking about me for this.
Of course.
And I'm raring to go. Let's talk. Let's share our knowledge.
So how do you see things? Like when your work, your passion, your dedication is to?
I look at it this way. Every new decade that I go into, I go, okay, what do I have to learn? What is the body? Because the body seems to be my entry path this life. It's really, what's this decade? What does my body have to teach me this decade? What does the whole being need differently than when it did, a decade before, a decade before, or a decade before? And I think that part of what happens with the years is that, number one, you get more mellow. You don't take things as seriously. You don't put as much stress into everything. But if you already have a load of it in there, it's time to get it out, because if you don't, your body is going to start screaming at you. And, that's part of what I've learned, is that we've all taken on a lot of people stuff and a lot of our own stuff, through our personal histories. And you get to a point where the body says, help, I can't load anymore. And I think that's when we really have the chance to go deep and unwind all of that. And so I look, from my 60s, on, it's sort of like, wow, okay, let's rethink a lot of things, and and how do we tweak it so that we get better and better. And that's really what I really think, that with each decade, that the body and the being teach us what's next in our evolution, and how can we get better.
Right. And what I love about Yamuna is she can translate it. She can get into the body and then start to translate it. So when I first started working with Yamuna, besides doing personal sessions, she invented all work. Did you call it ball work, Yamuna? What did you call it?
We called it body rolling, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
That's what
that
it's known for. That's what it's known as around the world.
Could you explain that?
And so what I did was I had a huge private practice in New York City, doing my hands-on body work called Body Logic, which really works the entire body in every session, to really find what all the pieces within a person of where energy's not streaming, and then redirect it, correct it, so that the person can live their lives pain-free. But then I realized wait a second, if people didn't have a way to take care of themselves, then they'd keep coming back to me. And I didn't want everyone to keep coming back. I wanted to really empower people to take care of themselves. And so I translated my hands-on work to a ball. I thought, gee, can we take a ball and actually use somebody's body weight into that ball, and then move according to the anatomy in the body, the order in the body? And it worked.
Totally worked.
And then it what we did was we actually got it deeper and deeper and more anatomically correct, and really looking at the liberation in the body and how free can you get every joint, and how can you keep stimulating the bone and the muscles, and people can do it themselves with all the education that I've created and the balls that I've created, because you can't just use any old ball.
No, it has to be Yamuna's balls.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that's really interesting is that Yamuna, and this was years ago when I first went to her, kept on talking about it's in the bones, it's in the bones, it's in the bones. And now people are kind of getting that a little bit, like what, so many years later, that they have to start working into the bone, because everything is programmed in terms of the traumas and this and that right into that bone marrow. So she always addressed that, and the joints. And as we get younger, I believe in age regression, our joints get it. Like, I was a dancer and an athlete. Now, I went to see Moulin Rouge the other day with my daughter, Yamuna, and I went, that's why my shoulders are bothering me right now. That's why I needed, a double hip replacement besides the Lupron. Because when we were dancing, when we were younger, and I was a dancer, I was doing all those crazy things they were doing on stage, never thinking that, you get into your 70s and it's going to start to show up in terms of inflammation, in terms of, pain in the joints. And Yamuna, the whole idea is not to get you to that point. Could you explain that, Yamuna?
Well, for years I'm talking about direct bone stimulation, getting impact out of bone, and working really bone from the bone out. And so as we go through our decades, and specifically for women post-menopause, there's absolute biochemistry changes that affect the bone. And so, it's very often when women will start feeling, brittleness in their bones, arthritis, osteoporosis, all this kind of stuff. And what I always say is, if you keep stimulating the bone from a young age, you will not go through that. And we've come from a culture, particularly people in our age range, where, people were, doing, these intense aerobic classes and, doing all this crazy stuff, but there was no one thinking it through, all this crazy impact that people were putting into themselves, all this pounding, what is that going to look like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years down the road when the natural biochemistry is changing. And so you have to listen to it, and you have to go with, what does it mean when, your body's, starting to show these things to you, and a lot, what happens, particularly I hear it all the time is people give up. It's like I hear people all the time going, yeah, I'm old, and yeah, I'm, like, I'm in a lot of pain. I could never do what you do, and I just, I always go, look, number one day at a time. Number two, baby steps, and just patience, and that that your body will respond. It will listen to you, and it'll be happy that you've actually paid attention and you're not doing all this pounding that you might have done that caused a lot of this today.
That's a really great point in terms of the ageless factor. I always, for myself, I never have adopted, and Yamuna knows this, and we've had discussions about the wise women look. And because I come from a show business background, I never will. What you're supposed to look like at a certain age, or the ailments you're supposed to accept because you are a certain age. I never did that. So what Yamuna is basically saying, and what I'm saying, is that don't give up just because you're at a certain point of your life, and decide that that's the end of that. If we did that, forget us. We'd be with a walker, the two of us. We don't give up. We go, okay, what else is next? How can we get to another level with the certain things that happen to us over our lifespan to where we are right now? So we inspire you to kind of go the next level of what else is possible, and don't buy what people are, feeding you. It's all over in commercials. I've said this before in podcasts. You look at somebody who's 50 and already they're taking all these meds, and they're, you start to get programmed that that's what's supposed to be happening to you. And Yamuna and I are examples, absolute examples, because we walk the talk, we live our lives, that is not true. So right now I'm having some inflammation in the shoulders. When I see Yamuna, she'll work on it. I'm doing inflammatory supplements, some stem cells. I mean, there are things that we can do. And Yamuna and I connect. We always connect every certain point of time, and it takes us both to the next level. The next time we connected was a little while ago, which was going to Mexico, going to Cabo. She was doing a retreat there, and she introduced me to this fabulous El Ganzo place, and I just thought, oh my God, it's out of the movies. She's going to be doing a retreat there in March. Correct, Yamuna?
Right. March 13th to 18th.
And what is that about?
Well, I call it the Body School. And the reason why I call it the Body School, not just a retreat, is that people go there and they really learn how to put all the pieces of their body together. So when they go home, they really know that if anything like that, their back hurts or this, they actually know what to do about it. And so we literally every morning starts with an hour of breathing, and then, because for me breathing is essential, and the idea that you can actually breathe into every part of your body. And then we do feet, and then each day we take a different part of the body and we focus on it. So people really get their needs met, and very often we do a retreat, and it's, it seems to be a general theme, like everybody's got a hip problem, or everybody's got a lower back problem, or everybody's got a hand and wrist problem, and so then we change the focus more to make everybody happy, but it's really a school, because basically, nobody knows how to take care of their bodies. They know what they learn from, going to the gym, or they go, whatever they decided to do intensely. And, and this is saying, no, this is about care. Care for your body parts, how to give your body parts what they need so that they stay aligned to the other parts, and that everything works and that energy moves.
And again, Yamuna is brilliant at that. So if you have any opening at that particular time and you really want to up your game and go to her body school, you need. This is it. March, Cabo, gorgeous place. But we'll give you information at the end of the podcast where you can get in touch with her.
Yeah.
I'm going
It's from the 13th to the 18th, and
Mhm.
it's pretty filled so far. But you know, here's
never
the,
know,
you know,
right?
if somebody calls me and they're really having issues, I say, you know what, we'll make room for you, you know,
Right.
or just somebody, like you said, just wants to go somewhere beautiful and take care of themselves.
Right. So, and then I'm going to be doing a retreat right after that, the ageless factor, which is ageless at any age. And I get into the emotional stuff and the heavy duty seventh dimensional healing work, which in Laganzo is fabulous because I can do rebirthing on the beach, you know, in the ocean. We do cacao ceremonies on the jetty at night. I mean, it's magical. When Yamuna introduced me to this place, after she was staying in this horrific hotel, she said, I'm out of here. We first went down there. And then she said, meet me for dinner. And it was like, what? This is out of a film set. So it's just gorgeous. And that's a great place to transform because you're dealing with the ocean, you're dealing with the sky, you're dealing with whales, you're dealing with, you know, dolphins. And I've spent many years swimming with the dolphins in the wild, just connecting, you know, energetically with nature. And I think Yamuna lives in nature as much as she possibly can. I'm happy in New York City and occasionally in nature, but nature has a lot to do with really grounding you and connecting you to your highest self and your highest potential. Wouldn't you say, Yamuna?
Absolutely. You know, I didn't, you know, because Alita and I know each other from all of our years working in New York. And I didn't realize until COVID that how happy I was to be able to look out from my terrace and just see the Mediterranean, you know, and just know that I could just walk down there and dive in and be in the sea. And there's something extremely healing for me about that. Um, and so I've made that more of a priority in my life because pre-COVID, I was 60% of the year traveling around the world and teaching my trainings and doing workshops and master classes for the public. And that I slowed that down with COVID, and it feels okay. It feels good that I learned that I can reach people like we are right now, that I could do Zoom, you know, and read and teach classes and reach people all over the world that normally can't have access.
And that's an important point because as you're, you know, you have a certain lifespan. I mean, I'm going to do 120. I don't know what Yamuna's idea is. She might have something a little sooner than that. But anyway, you want to live the quality of life. You want to feel that there's joy in your life, not like you're just running around like a gerbil, working. And then you have to get your consciousness aligned with that, which is less work, more finances, support. Where do I really want to live? If I have 20 more years to live or 30 more years to live, how do I want to live it? And that's a really important question to ask yourself. And for me, that's why I would love to spend more time in Cabo, in nature that way, but I would be probably coming back to New York a lot more than Yamuna is. But that's me. And the thing that I want to stress in our podcast is Yamuna and I are on a path of evolution, but we're both two very individual people, and we can agree to disagree many times, right, Yam? We do. We do. She's a Sag, I'm a Scorpio, you know. Anyway, but I have Venus in Sag. My first house is in Sag, so I've got the Sag energy. But the fact of the matter is we can still be friends and we can still have a community that's really, really important for us to support each other. So for instance, I don't know, about 4 months ago, Yamuna says, you got to do this light, this energy enhancement system, these scalar wave lights. And of course, she said, say something and I'll follow immediately because I know she's always into something. And there was a group of people, but Yaman and I basically got it. I mean, I looked at her, she looked at me, we wanted to move in. All right. And because of that, I've been going every week, for 10 hours to really up my game into fifth and seventh dimensional energy in my body. And then, of course, because Yamuna builds things, she builds a what in Ibiza? And tell us about that.
Well, from the first time I went, and I had such a profound experience with trauma that I had built up in me after my daughter almost died. And tears just poured out of my eyes uncontrollably for an hour. And I didn't even feel it coming. It was just pouring. And it was so profound that I went, wow, this is deep. And we had been going to all kinds of different scalar systems and different energy things because I was doing everything to try and heal Yael. And so, but this was on another level. And I felt it for days afterwards. So then it was like, okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then after a few times, and after we went together, and I said, you know what? I'm going to bring this to Ibiza. And so I called them up, and the ES people, and I said, I'd like to do this. They said, well, nobody's got it yet, so you have the exclusive. And I said, great, let's do it. And now, Alita, it looks like I'm going to do Tokyo too.
Oh my God, I got the chills. Woo!
Because Tokyo needs it. Just like New York City really needs it, but the rents are too high.
Yeah. Yeah, well, every week I go to Staten Island, at the place there, they have their center there. And from 10 o'clock at night to 7 a.m. in the morning, I'm meditating and working with the frequency of the lights. But Yamuna, I really want to share with our guests that, and I'm going to cry, because when Yamuna's daughter, Yael, she got into a horrific accident, horrific. If it wasn't for Yamuna and Yael's will to live, it would have been impossible to put her back together again. Western medicine, with what they were doing in terms of the operations and the best that they could do, that was part of it, but not the whole of it at all. It was Yamuna's determination to work on Yael constantly, to get her out of a paralyzed, basically unmovable place into this beautiful girl she is right now. Totally able to walk, totally able to function, totally able to support her mother again. I sent so much healing energy, and there was a whole group of people that are connected to Yamuna and Yael that did. But, I considered myself a master energy healer of many, many lifetimes, many years. And I was on it constantly. And Yael not only survived, but it was a combination of everything, but mostly, Yamuna, it really was you. You never gave up. She was dealing with, Western medicine. She wouldn't leave her side until she was forced to. Yael hung in there with the most horrible situations going on that a lot of people would have just decided, hey, let me get out of here. This is way too painful and way too crazy. But the will of both of these women for Yael to keep going and to contribute not only to her individual life, but also to Yamuna's. She's like her buddy, her partner. She puts things together. It's really beautiful to watch. And when I saw her at a Health Life Expo, I don't know, 2 months ago or something, I just was in awe at the miracle that actually occurred, that I was part of, could witness how you put that together. So I have to really acknowledge both women, Yamuna and Yael, for this miracle and magic that happened out of a devastating situation.
Yep. And one of the things I learned through that period, because there was moment where I had to recognize that she might decide to leave. And people like you, people from all over the world. I mean, what I learned was the power of prayer, the power of long distance healing, the power of everybody together, because it nourished me, knowing that knowing that you and thousands of people from all over the world were, were there every day, and I felt it. When there were times when I just went, wow, yeah, I don't know. But I felt like, Yael had so much positive force, being focused on her. And it really humbled me to just basically what you do. It humbled me to like, wow, the power of healing, the power of prayer, the power of love, all combined is what made Yael stick around, and her strong will.
Yep. Because it was really a challenge. It wasn't just, one problem, two problems. It was like a myriad of things. Myriad.
Yep.
So, but you did it. And so I'm so glad that you had that. I didn't realize you had that emotional catharsis with the lights. I thought you had gone back to your parents, but you needed to cry. This woman did not shed a tear that I saw. Every time we talk or whatever, she was right in there like the warrior and doing things that, in Western medicine, naturally she seemed like the weirdo, but she kept on going and doing it as much as she possibly could, and tremendous results. I mean, I went over to Yamuna's and Yael was in a walker, going an inch, and her dog was like barking by her side, and then she went from the walker like inch by inch, and she'd be smiling at me, and then I'd be putting my hands on her, and the whole thing. And then before you know it, chunk, after days and days of dedicated work and healing and this and that, she's wonderful. She's rocking now. I'm so happy.
In fact, she and I we're in Florida now, and we go to the gym every afternoon together.
Yeah.
Something I never thought I'd be doing, but we're doing it, and like, yeah, let's get some muscle.
Yeah, that's great. That is totally great. So on that happy note, that transformational, resurrecting note, so don't ever give up is the message here. Don't ever give up. There's always ways. And sometimes it's not about the person living and transcending something. Maybe the person wants to leave. That happens. And you know what I realized in all my work, and I've done a lot of helping people make transitions to the other side, as well as bringing babies in, fertility, since I had my kids at 57, is that the soul really chooses when you're going to go. And if you're in resonance with, I'm getting out of here, my soul's saying, you know what, you're not going to evolve anymore. You're just like, you can't get out of your addiction. You're la 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 la. Let's go to the higher dimensions. Let's leave the physical, go to the higher dimensions. And if you decide you want to come back into the physical again, you can, but it's going nowhere. And that is a lot of what happens when people make their transition. And if you're with people through death and dying, you can see that they'll take their last breath, but they basically go right out of the top of their head. And it's like that.
Yep.
They leave their body. So it's not like we're willing them to live. It's got to be a collaboration. To leave somebody alone, that's not the best thing. But it's a collaborative effort between them, our energies, their higher self, and their destiny, what they are destined to do in this world or not to do. And, if our life is eternal and we're eternal beings, there's no time clock. If you don't get it together in one lifetime, you've got some lifetimes to go. And I know our relationship, I don't know about you, Yamuna, but when we first met, it felt really familiar, even though we're really different. Yamuna comes from a very yoga background, correct? And I come more from the show business, but primal therapy, bioenergetic, blah, 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 healing with light, going into the jungle, taking ayahuasca, yada, yada, yada. And Yamuna is more structured, right?
Well, no, I'm into all that stuff
What,
too.
you did crazy? All right. I just wasn't around when you were crazy, all right?
Yeah, I'm still crazy, but that's part of the whole thing is, like being in Ibiza, because Ibiza is like a very powerful energy island and a lot of powerful healing goes on. There's a lot of that stuff.
I was in Ibiza, but when I was in Ibiza, we were partying. We were dancing our head off till 6 in the morning. So I never got that part of Ibiza, but maybe I have to come and visit you.
It's
Maybe
actually,
we have to do something together. How about that? How about a collab between Yamuna and Alita? How about that?
we can do that. We have the
Yeah,
studio do it.
yeah. We could do that in Ibiza and in Cabo.
What's interesting is that, Ibiza is becoming more and more known to the young people, to people in every age, as a place to come to learn about healing and to do healing and to, or if you're a healer. So more and more people are coming there because of the energy of the island. And, for me, I mean, the minute I landed there, I was like, oh, this is my place.
Mm.
And and all my friends, everybody's into, healing and, all kinds of, from, I mean, cacao. I mean, I don't know how many weekly there are cacao ceremonies and sound healing. And, you mentioned the crystal skeletons, I have one of my
Skulls, Yamuna.
skulls, right? The skulls. One of my friends does healings with those all the time. So, just what I mean, and people come there because they're looking for it,
Mm.
so that's why having the energy enhancement system there is going to be great for people that are healers and great for people that want to be healed and great for enhancing anybody's work.
Mm. So let's talk about what we can collaborate on in terms of maybe Cabo next year, because you usually do things in advance. I do things on the seat of my pants.
No,
But maybe no, thank you. But we can do something really magical. That would be exciting. It really would be.
Yeah, but we need to do it.
Yeah, but we'll do it. I don't have a problem
6,
doing
7,
it.
8 months out, to
No, you just lead it. I'll follow.
okay.
You say 6, 7 months out, and I'm on it.
Okay.
All right? Because you're leading it.
Okay.
All right? So stay tuned, because you're going to hear a lot about not only what Yaman is doing in March, but also what I'm doing, but our collaboration together, because that should be really rocking. Absolutely. Yep. 2 wise and wonderful women.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I wanted to say something because I'm here in Florida and I'm seeing, and I'm looking at people in our age range, and I'm looking at people in walkers, and I'm looking at people with canes, and I'm looking at people, the full spectrum of what people can do and what people can't do. And, and I look at it and for some reason they're all calling me the athlete, and I am not an athlete, but I think it's that missing piece of care, that people never thought about their bodies and their beings as something that you care for,
Mm.
so for me, it's like, it's a study while I'm here of going, it's just been missing in our world, in our culture, that people, care, that people need to learn, how do you care? How do you care for your soul? How do you care for your emotional life? How do you, your emotional body, your physical body, and have space for that on a regular basis, but from young age, so that you don't go into acceptance of not being able to get around.
Absolutely. So Yamuna and I are here for you. So if you can connect to any of the classes online, they don't call them retreats, they call them
Body school.
body schools, etc. I'm still doing some privates, but I'm also expanding in terms of online and retreats. I don't teach like Yamuna teaches. I'm more of a transformational, give you the energy, help you cathartic emotionally. It's a whole different experience, but together we complement each other like off the charts in terms of caring for yourself. So we want to inspire you by looking at us and listening to what we have to offer, for you to find the modalities that help you care for yourself and keep living in joy agelessly at any age. And ask yourself always, what else is possible? What are the unlimited possibilities that I have right now and in my future? And never give up. Keep on keeping on and live in joy, life, and vitality. And that's what it's all about. So thank you so much, Yamuna. As always, you are a blessing. Always.
Thank you. Always here to help. Join.
Okay. All right. My love and blessings to you. You'll have the information of how you can get in touch with both of us at the end of this podcast. And I'll see you again for next week's podcast. Be ageless.